Thank you for having me this afternoon or this evening. This report was created by Inter Isle Consulting. We've done 2 large phishing studies, and our purpose is to understand how much phishing is occurring in the world and whether it's going up or down, and also to understand some of what the phishers are doing and how to better respond to it. So this is the URL of the report, and we hope that you can take a look at it. We looked at 1 year of data, stretching from last May through April of this year, and we compiled data from 4 well-known sources of phishing URLs, and this is confirmed phishing activity. The APWG's repository of phishing URLs, OpenFish, PhishTank, and the SpamHouse phishing feed. This yielded almost 1.5 million reports of phishing. A few of those were duplicates. Also, some URLs are pointing basically to the same attacks or destinations. So we reduced it to about 700,000 phishing attacks. Those were unique phishing destinations. And we found about 500,000 different domain names being used for the phishing. Now, over the course of that year, what we did see is that the number of attacks did rise by 70%. And this is, again, confirmation that phishing is a persistent problem. Phishing does tend to ebb and flow over time, but it is disturbing to see it rise significantly over a sustained period. One of the things we do is we look at whether these domain names being used for phishing are maliciously registered or compromised. Now, a compromised domain name is where the phishers have broken into the hosting. And so the owner of the domain name is not perpetrating the phishing. We don't want to shut down their domain name because it would also shut down their email or website. However, maliciously registered phishing domains are those that are registered by the phishers so they can perpetrate phishing. And what we and some other researchers have found is that almost 2/3 of domain names used for phishing were registered by the phishers themselves. There are various techniques. You can read about it in our, to determine this. You can read about it in our report. But this indicates that the phishers are getting the resources usually themselves. And these domain names are candidates for suspension. So the registry operator or the registrar can suspend these without any collateral damage. So that's an opportunity for mitigation. One of the things we also see is that the phishers use their domain names quickly when they register them. If they register a domain name, they're usually going to use it within a day or 2 days of registration. They do that because they don't want to get caught. They may be using stolen credentials to register the domains, etc. And so, and they also don't want their domain names to be seen quickly. A lot of people are looking at zone files and so forth to find their find phishing domains. And so the phishers use them quickly. What this means is if you're a brand owner, you need to do really, really good detection. One of the problems that brand owners are finding, of course, is that WHOIS data is not very useful anymore. There is no contact data, which can be used to indicate whether it's accurate or not, or is an indicator of bad faith. So we have this arms race problem where the phishers are registering a lot of domains, they're using them quickly, and then they move on to another set of domains. And it's hard for the defenders to keep up. What we also see is, as has happened over the years, a lot of phishing is concentrated at just a few places on the internet or at a few providers. Now, we expect that there's a lot of phishing in .com because .com is by far the largest TLD. It has many active websites and therefore many compromised domains in it. But we also see other hotspots. Freenom operates 5 TLDs, including .tk. They give these domains away for free, and phishers like free. So we see a lot of phishing on the Freenom TLDs. The phishers register them, use them, move on. We also saw a fair amount on the .xyz TLD. At the upper left, you see the market share among TLDs. .com and net are 46% of the registered TLDs in the world. The CC TLDs are 43% and so forth. But the domains used for phishing break down a different way. That's at the lower right. Basically, what we see is the new TLDs that were introduced over the last 10 years, or the last 7 years. They're only 6% of the market, but they're 21% of the domains used for phishing. Basically, the new TLDs have a disproportionate number of phishing domains in them. Part of that is probably due to low prices. Those TLDs wanted to gain market share and so forth, and so they are often offered cheaply. If you take away those Freenom TLDs, the CC TLDs have a very small slice compared to their market share, possibly because CC TLDs tend to have higher registration prices, but that's just a guess. We also see a lot of concentration amongst registrars. Namecheap is the second largest registrar, but it has by far the most domains used for phishing. A lot of those are malicious registrations. NameSilo is a smaller registrar, but also has a lot. GoDaddy is the largest registrar by far, but it's only at number 3, indicating that phishers don't go to GoDaddy to register domain names, certainly not as frequently as some other places. So they have a smaller share compared to their market share. Among the malicious registrations, we do see that phishers are going to Namecheap and NameSilo fairly frequently, indicating either price or slow mitigation may be a factor. We also see concentration about where the phishing is hosted. Again, Namecheap is number 1 in this case. They do offer hosting. The phishers are buying their domains there and then also hosting phishing sites there. And number 2 is Cloudflare. Now, Cloudflare isn't exactly the host. What they do is they offer a service that is designed to prevent DDoS. But basically what it does is it's a proxy. So these domain names were on Cloudflare hosting. What you can see is the IP address of Cloudflare, but then Cloudflare is sending the traffic on to the final destination, which is on a different IP address, but we can't see those IP addresses, so we don't know exactly where that phishing is taking place. And that's actually what the phishers want. They want that obscuring of their final locations. So you can report these phish to Cloudflare, but they have to decide at Cloudflare whether they're going to cut off that customer, and then they have to also decide whether they're going to forward on the phishing report to the actual hosting provider, which can cause a delay in mitigation.
Greg, my apologies for interrupting. 1 more minute.
Okay. So the takeaways are as follows. Phishing remains a big threat. Mitigation, speed, and prevention are critical. Prevention is something we don't focus enough on. This is making sure that the phishers don't get the resources they need before they do the phishing, because by the time you find the phishing, it's already too late, pretty much. So we need hosting providers and registrars especially to know their customers and keep them out. And we know that a large amount of the problem is concentrated at a small number of these providers. And malicious domain name registrations are much of the problem. And if we can prevent those or shunt them elsewhere, we can make things much more difficult for phishers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg, for this very interesting presentation. You showed a link in, I think, your first slide. Would you mind sharing that via the chat so that people can download it? Your microphone is muted, but if you could share the link, that would be great.
Yes, I'll share the link, and this presentation is public and can be shared.
Thank you very much, Greg.